What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mototalk, where we discuss all things relevant in the motorcycling community and answering your questions to all things motorcycles. So in today's episode, we're going to be focusing mainly on the Supermotos, and we're going to be talking about the top reasons I think you should get a Supermoto. So for those of you who don't know what a Supermoto is basically a dirt bike for the road. So it's a dirt bike that comes with all the necessary requirements to be operated legally on the streets. This oftentimes includes a headlight, tail light, turn signals, a horn, and of course, street tires. Now there's a couple ways you can go about getting a Supermoto. You could do the tried and true form of actually buying a dirt bike and then converting it by yourself to be street legal, or you could buy directly from the factory as a Supermoto, such as this right here, the WR250X or the DRZ400 SM. Those come from the factory as dirt bikes that are already street legal. Now you may be wondering, why would you take a dirt bike, a 450cc race bike that is made for fast-paced dirt track riding, jumps, whoops, all sort of this gnarly off-road terrain, and put it on the road where it is going to be severely underpowered in terms of its engine displacement size, as the biggest dirt bike that you can get really is a 450cc machine, whereas street bikes can go all the way up to 1,000 cc's. And then you're going to have to deal with its larger wheelbase, its greater seat height, and a suspension that is tuned specifically for these off-road conditions, and putting it on the road, which is just something that it is not meant to do. Why does this make sense? Let me tell you, it doesn't really make sense, but it is hands down probably the most fun that you can have on a motorcycle. And so that'll be my first reason of why to get a Supermoto, is because they are just fun machines. Sure, they're underpowered. Sure, they're not going to be great on the highway. But guess what? In these back roads, they are absolute machines. They are so much fun. They are so light as well. And not to mention, you're not just limited to the road. Because it's also a dirt bike, you can go off-road with it. You can be riding on the road, see a trail, stop, hop off into the trail, and just ride wherever it takes you. And guess what? At the end of that trail, you can hop back onto the roadway, back on the highway, and get back home. That's not something that you can do on a street bike like this. The capabilities to ride absolutely anywhere are something that no other motorcycle can do. Even a dirt bike, which is hands down the most capable off-road machine, isn't street legal. It's only a Supermoto that's capable of still handling those off-road sections, those off-road trails, because like I said, it is a dirt bike. And then being able to hop on the road, get on the highway, and just go is really something that is unique to Supermotos. Now I've got to mention that this is not great at either or. It's not great on the road. It's not great in the off-road. But it is good in both categories, which is something that no other machine can say. And it's because of that ability to go anywhere, expand your riding possibilities, that this thing is so much fun. And there's just a certain riding characteristic that comes with a Supermoto that just makes it so much fun, and it's the way you ride it. You can just ride it just crazy. You can just have fun on it. You can be popping curbs, popping wheelies. Not to mention that these things just look so cool, and that just really adds the fun factor of it. I mean, it's a dirt bike riding on the road. How is that not cool? So moving along, the next reason to get a Supermoto is affordability, guys. These are extremely cost-effective machines to own and operate. Not only is the upfront cost very low when compared to other traditional motorcycles, but the cost to maintain over the course of the life of the motorcycle is also going to be significantly cheaper than some other options out there on the market. For example, I bought this beautiful 2009 WR250X with under 5,000 miles on it for under $4,000, which is an absolutely great deal. Brand new, these things aren't that expensive, and they're also not that cheap. A brand new DRZ costs probably around the $7,000 mark. Really, you want to be looking on the used market if you really want to get a good deal and keep these Supermotos as cost effective as possible, because there are deals all the time on WR250Xs and also DRZ400s. Now, depending on where you live and a couple other variables, you can definitely find a decent WR250X or DRZ400 for between $3,000 to $5,000, which is really a great price range. But now the cost to actually maintain and operate these things is another shining factor of these motorcycles. For example, I pay right around, actually I think it's now a little less than $100 a year to insure my Supermoto, which is an absolutely amazing deal. I know once you start to insure more, high-end, high-powered street bikes, the cost of insurance goes up significantly. But because this is just a 250cc dirt bike out here on the road, the cost to insure is very minimal. But now beyond insurance, these things are extremely affordable to maintain and operate because first off, you don't need to deal with any expensive paint or, bodywork, fairings, stuff like that, things you got to deal with a street bike. Whereas this, it's all plastic. All the bodywork on this is all plastic. So even if you wanted to go and completely change the color of this, you can buy a new set of plastics for right around $300 for this machine, which is absolutely awesome. If you need to replace something, like I needed to replace my rear fender, pick that up for $40. If you need to replace something or any sort of bodywork on a street bike, you're looking at a much more expensive cost. Now the cost to maintain a Supermoto is also extremely cost effective. Now this will depending on the Supermoto, because if you're converting a dirt bike, the cost to maintain is going to be a lot more expensive just because they require more frequent oil changes. But if you're dealing with a tried and true Supermoto such as the WR250X or DRZ400, one of the ones that come right from the factory as a Supermoto, they're a lot more reliable and therefore cheaper to maintain. For example, for the WR250X, the manual recommends to change the oil every 3,000 miles or once a year. Since I do not ride this that often, I often change it less than every 3,000 miles because I change it once a year. So I just did an oil change on this. Costing me right around $20-25 between the oil filter, some other little parts here and there. Extremely cheap. $25 once a year to do an oil change is not that bad at all, and that's pretty much all the major maintenance that this thing needs. Besides an air filter here and there, these things are just cost effective to maintain. Now that's going to be a great segue into my third category, is that these things are reliable. Supermotos are extremely reliable. They are dirt bikes. They are built for durability. They are built to be going off-road, to really be thrown into the elements, whereas street bikes and stuff like that, they're just not built to that same durability standards that a Supermoto is. So number 3, reliability, durability is just a shining factor of a Supermoto. So number 4 on the list of why to get a Supermoto is because absolutely anyone can ride them. Whether you're an experienced rider or a beginner, you're going to feel at home on a Supermoto. For beginner riders, they are very forgiving machines. They're easy to ride. They're a very upright riding position, so it's going to be very similar to, like a bicycle. So you're going to feel very comfortable. They're also, fairly underpowered, so you're not going to be too intimidated by, a huge power band or anything like that. They're very forgiving bikes. They're very easy to control. So they're just great for beginners. Now for more experienced riders, they're also great. Although they don't have, just the raw power that a sport bike may have, they're just a ton of fun to cruise through these back roads, pop wheelies, just have a great time on. And that's something that an experienced rider is really going to be able to take full advantage of. Also, if you're comfortable already with dirt bikes, and that's kind of was my background, is I came from dirt bikes. I've been riding dirt bikes for the last 6 or 7 years now, and I felt right at home on the Supermoto. That's kind of one of the reasons that I got it, is because I knew that it wasn't going to be a crazy shift. It was going to be very easy for me to adapt to start road riding, and that was one of the huge reasons that I decided to pick up a Supermoto, and I'm glad I did. Now the 5th and final reason to pick up a Supermoto is because there is such a great community built around them. There are just so many great online forums, YouTube channels, Facebook groups dedicated to Supermotos, and they're really a great resource when it comes to answering these type of questions and really just building that sense of community. And Supermotos just really seem to have such a great following, and especially going out on Supermoto rides. Like, riding with other Supermotos is so much fun, because then you got a group of you that are down to go out to the back roads, hit the twisty sections, and then jump off into the trails and just go do some trail riding. There's just so much opportunity with a Supermoto, and having a community around you that does that as well really is so much fun, and really is just a great reason as to why you should get a Supermoto. So I'm going to end the video here. We're going to keep on riding, so we're going to keep on making more videos. So definitely be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. And I hope this video convinced some of you guys watching to go out, get a Supermoto, because let me tell you, these are some of the most fun machines ever. This is definitely probably my favorite bike that I have ever owned, and this is hands down the most fun I have had with motorcycles. So like I said, go out, get a Supermoto, and I'll see you in the next one.